investigation?
दूजे एजेंसीज की भी हेल्प असी लै रहे हैं तो इन्हों के डिवाइसिस एग्जामिन करके असी इस पूरी इन डेप्थ इन्वेस्टिगेशन करांगे कि इन्हों के किन किन लोगों नाल लिंक सीगे, इन्हों के एसोसीएट्स किहड़े सीगे इंडिया एंड अब्रॉड, एंड वी विल अनवेल द एंटायर कॉन्स्पिरेसी बिहाइंड दिस इंसीडेंट। तो यह पहला ब्रेक थ्रू है, 5 गिरफ्तारियां हुई हैं। मैं सीपी साहब को कहा सीगा कि एक SIT बना के SIT इसको इन्वेस्टिगेट करेगी। पंजाब पुलिस ने ये अमृतसर में जो हाल के दिनों में जो 3 लो इंटेंसिटी एक्सप्लोजन्स हुए थे उन्हें वर्कआउट कर लिया है और 5 इसमें गिरफ्तारियां हुई हैं। इसमें प्रिलिमिनरी इन्वेस्टिगेशन में रोल आज़ाद वीर सिंह और अमरीक सिंह का पाया गया है, जो इसमें जिन्होंने IED असेंबल करी और IED एक्सप्लोड करी। रिकवरी इनसे 1.1 kg मिक्सचर ऑफ क्लोरेट्स एंड ब्रोमाइड्स हुए हैं। इनकी टेस्टिंग, केमिकल टेस्टिंग कराएंगे और ये लो ग्रेड एक्सप्लोसिव्स हैं जो आमतौर पे फायर क्रैकर्स में इस्तेमाल किए जाते हैं।
बड़े लंबे समय तो मैं देख रहा भी ਜਦੋਂ भी कोई सीरियसली घटना ਹੁੰਦੀ ਉਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਧਾਰਮਿਕ ਫਿਰਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ। ਇਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ 2-4 ਦਿਨ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ 2 ਘਟਨਾਵਾਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬਲਾਸਟ ਹੋਏ, ਪਰ ਉਹ ਬਲਾਸਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਕੋਈ ਦਿਲਚਸਪੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿਖਾਈ। ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਹਿਰਦੇ ਵੱਜ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸੁਚੇਤ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੀ, ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁਚੇਤ ਹੈਗੇ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ ਵੀ। ਹੋਰ ਕੁਝ ਤੱਥ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਵੀ, ਉਹ ਤੱਥ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਾਲੇ ਨਸ਼ਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੇ, ਪਰ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਤੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਚੇਚੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਡੰਗਾਈ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂਚ ਕਰਕੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਸਾਜ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਨੰਗੀ ਕਰੋ।
सरकार ने पंजाब की कानूनी व्यवस्था को एक कॉमेडी शो, एक चुटकुला समझ लिया है और पंजाब की कानूनी व्यवस्था पे ध्यान देने में वो बिल्कुल ही सुस्त हैं। सत्य तो ये है, आज पूरा पंजाब एक नॉन सीरियस गवर्नमेंट की एक चुटकुला सरकार को नियुक्त करके वोट डाल के बहुत भारी कीमत चुका रहा है। हमें उम्मीद है कि पंजाब पुलिस जल्द से जल्द इस मामले की गहराई तक जाएगी, क्योंकि पंजाब दोबारा से उस काले दौर में नहीं जा सकता।
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching CNN News 18. This is Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. We are focusing at this hour coming in from Pakistan, where the political turmoil is only going to escalate. We've seen the kind of violence and chaos that has ensued right after the arrest of former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan. Now, all of his supporters were out on the streets. There was arrest in one case, an indictment in another. All of that happened in the 24 hours that we saw. After which there has been complete aftermath, forcing the government to call in the army in certain provinces as well. Now we're learning that the clock is ticking for Imran Khan, and that's the latest piece of information that we are getting from the neighboring state. What we do know now, and that's the breaking news that we are getting for you at this hour, is that the Supreme Court has decided or ordered, in fact, to order the NAB, which is the anti-graft watchdog, to come out and present Imran Khan in the court immediately. The Chief Justice of Pakistan has said that the NAB has committed contempt of court. He needs to be present in court immediately at 4 p.m, when we had learnt that a 1-hour deadline was set for the corruption watchdog for presenting of Imran Khan before the court. Siddhant, my colleague, getting us more details on this. Siddhant, the court has been coming down heavily on the NAB in the manner in which the arrest was made. Once again now, they have put a timeline, a deadline for the NAB to ensure that Imran Khan does get his legal recourse and he's presented in court.
Absolutely, Poonam. In fact, if you remember, since day one, we have been discussing that how largely Supreme Court in Pakistan, or perhaps even the lower courts in Pakistan, have always maybe looked at helped Imran Khan in getting bails or maybe relief. And day before yesterday, the orders came against Imran Khan. In fact, from Supreme Court, his petition was rejected, citing some of the clerical errors in the petition which was filed by PTI. And day before yesterday, Islamabad High Court called the arrest of Imran Khan legal. But look, now again, Supreme Court has entered into the picture, and this time around, Supreme Court has in fact criticized the entire way, the undemocratic pattern which was followed to arrest Imran Khan. Also, there were multiple observations that have been made by Chief Justice of Pakistan, with regards to the security inside the court premises, also with regards to the way the Imran Khan has been arrested, in which, in fact, the fellow lawyers and the staff of the court also got injured, and how the rangers broke the window pane and entered the court premises. So that was something which has been taken up by the Chief Justice, and in fact, this is perhaps the reason that he has given orders to National Accountability Bureau to make sure that Imran Khan is present in the court in next 1 hour. Also, we have been told that the senior bureaucrats and bureaucrats of the government of Pakistan have also been summoned to the court, and there is a high possibility that in next few hours the Supreme Court can give relief to Imran Khan. So this is the big breaking news that we are getting from Pakistan. In fact, the Pak media is also reporting because going by the observations that have been made or the commentary that the Chief Justice has made shows that the Supreme Court is not very happy with the conduct of Rangers, with the conduct of National Accountability Bureau, with the conduct of Pakistani government, and this is perhaps the reason that now Chief Justice of Pakistan has decided to intervene, and he has asked National Accountability Bureau to produce Imran Khan in next 1 hour. He is also ready to hear Imran Khan's case, and in fact, Chief Justice also said that NAB warrant is not legal; its compliance will be reviewed. So when hearing will begin, so the compliance of the NAB warrant will be reviewed. Everyone should be protected within the court premises. So this is a bigger issue, regarding which Chief Justice has shown concern that inside a courtroom, if people are getting arrested, if arrest is being made and people are getting injured, that is not done. So these are some sharp observations made by the Chief Justice of Pakistan. Perhaps, in fact, the campaign for in favor of Imran Khan is also going on in Pakistan, and now all eyes are on the Supreme Court of Pakistan, whether Imran Khan will get the bail or whether Supreme Court will order the status quo. Back to you.
Right, and Siddhant, the latest we're learning now is that the police is on its way with Imran Khan to the Supreme Court. There's, of course, high security. We had seen how even when he was arrested, there were these rangers that were deployed. It wasn't the police that came and arrested him. There were several of them to arrest one man. We saw how he was dragged and pulled and then pushed into the ranger's vehicle before he was taken to the location where he was kept in custody. Now we're given to understand that not only is the police escorting him to the Supreme Court, but there is the Pakistani Rangers as well. There is a red zone of Islamabad, a high security zone at that. That is something that the administration, the army is now looking into, because this definitely has become a situation that has spiraled out of their control. Did they anticipate these kind of protests, this kind of chaos? At least 5 lives have been lost at last count, Siddhant, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And in fact, that's what Poonam, court also said, Atar Minullah, the Chief Justice of Pakistan, said that the atmosphere created is deplorable. He also said that NAB has arrested elected public representative, and this is not a manner, this is not a way that Rangers should behave with the elected public representative. This is not a way of respecting the court. So that is also one issue which has been raised by the Chief Justice of Pakistan. And also he went on to say that if tomorrow Rangers will come to court, then will they expect same kind of treatment from the court staff? So these are some sharp observations that have been made by the Chief Justice of Pakistan, and perhaps this has increased the confidence of PTI cadre and Imran Khan supporter that there is a high possibility that tonight Imran Khan could get some sort of a protection in this entire served. He has already been sent to the 8 days of National Accountability Bureau's custody. His Islamabad High Court denied intervening in the matter, called the arrest legal. Yesterday, the same Supreme Court rejected his petition, citing clerical errors. This is perhaps the last ditch for Imran Khan, maybe the last opportunity for Imran Khan to seek protection, to seek some sort of a relief, and observations, going by the commentary made by the Chief Justice Atar Minullah, it looks like that order can come in favor of Imran Khan, because the legal team of Imran Khan has basically challenged the arrest made by National Accountability Bureau. And in fact, in the petition, it has been mentioned that how in an undemocratic manner Imran Khan has been arrested. It has also been mentioned that the Khan had come to court to do compliance with the summons which have been issued against him. So he was not running away. He was not absconding. He very much presented himself before the court. He was in the biometric blocks when he got arrested. So, you know, the entire procedure, his legal team wanted to get order so that the entire procedure could be called illegal, the procedure to arrest him. And the same, the same issue have been mentioned in the petition which have been filed. So it would be interesting to see that how Supreme Court is going to deliver verdict in this entire matter.
Absolutely, and that hearing is going to begin in just a short while from now. The latest that we are gathering, Siddhant, in fact, is that Imran Khan has reached the Supreme Court of Pakistan in Islamabad. It was amid high security cordon. We've seen what has transpired in the last 3 days right after the arrest of Imran Khan. There's been violence and chaos, complete anarchy, as some would term it, in different parts of the country, which is why no chances are being taken amid high security, not just the police, the Pakistani Rangers. Imran Khan taken through the red zone to the Supreme Court. He has reached the premises. The hearing is going to begin in a short while from now, is what we are learning. That's the latest that is coming to the fore from Pakistan. Siddhant, my colleague, continues to be with us. The former diplomat G. Parthasarathy also joining us on this broadcast. A senior journalist from Pakistan, Hamid Khan, will also be joining us shortly. Mr. Parthasarathy, I'd like to begin by asking you, we've seen this kind of chaos in the last 3 days. Now, from being the poster boy of the army, Imran Khan has, in the last 1.5 to 2 years, has become the most vocal critic of the Pakistani army. We've also seen that his supporters have actually taken out their wrath on army establishments as well across the country in the last 3 days.
Well, they're going through tumultuous times. Firstly, with regard to the Supreme Court, yes, the Supreme Court has to be respected. But many Pakistanis question the motivations of the present Chief Justice. So there is that question mark about his actions, that they are politically oriented in favor of Imran Khan for whatever reason. That is a reality of life in Pakistan, at least amongst many people in the ruling elite, and also within the armed forces. With regard to the army, General Asim Munir who's the present army chief. He was humiliated by Imran Khan when he was Director General of the ISI. Imran Khan arbitrarily had him thrown out and sent to a smaller post. So the army, in Pakistan, in many things is the last word. They will act very carefully because Asim Munir has no love lost for Imran Khan. So there is that sentiment. And ultimately, I mean, past experience has been the army prevails. The only time they didn't was during the Bangladesh crisis. So this will continue. There will be violence. There will be his supporters coming out. There is no doubt that Imran Khan enjoys popular public support. It's not because of love for Imran Khan, but out of disgust with others. So it's really now up to the military who will, how will they play it. But this Chief Justice is at least regarded by the army and by the government as being politically biased. Whether that's true or not, that's for the Pakistanis to decide. But it's a point we have to bear in mind that at least from within Parliament, some of the things he asked were rejected in the past, and therefore they was found to be deliberately anti-government. So let us wait and see how this plays out. I mean, really, Pakistan is paying for years of negligence of democratic institutions, democratic processes, with elected governments playing second fiddle to the armed forces, and armed forces which has never won a war and only humiliated its own people. So that is really their issue. But right now, Um, the fact of the matter is, the army has thus far been showing restraint, both during the times of General Bajwa, the predecessor, and now with General Faiz Hamid. So, General Asim Munir. So I think we'll have to wait this, but yeah, it's going to be a very messy affair. That much I'll concede.
And that messy affair perhaps would push the country further on the brink of an implosion or a complete collapse. And Hamid Khan, a senior journalist from Pakistan, also joins us on this broadcast. And I'd like to ask him that the kind of scenes, Hamid Khan, we've seen from across major cities in Pakistan over the last 3 days, it worries not just the people in that country, but countries around in the neighborhood, and in general, the world is on the edge.
Thank you very much. I don't think so. To be honest, it's that much catastrophic that the neighboring country should be worried. Things are under control. Yes, public unrest is there, and there is a very strong public protest going on. But everything is under control. On the other hand, the good news is that Supreme Court have taken a very very upfront action, and Supreme Court's action is very much positive, that they are making all the things questionable, that why paramilitary forces were used to arrest Imran Khan, and it is unconstitutional to arrest somebody from within the court's premises. So I think if there will be we are expecting a better decision from the Supreme Court, which will give a much ease and relief to the public, that their sentiments will be calmed down. But at the same time, I think the need of the election is very much important. As you know, the general elections are due in October. I think it's better for the government to go for a fresh election ASAP, just 2-3 months earlier than its due date. On the other hand, as far as the security of Pakistan is concerned, or sovereignty of Pakistan is concerned, it is all intact. There is no problem with it, and the security forces and armed forces are determined to protect Pakistan. There is no issue with it. Public do not have anger against the army. Let me clear it. Public have anger against some decisions taken by the higher officials of 1 or 2 named persons. Let's keep it very clear. I think that is the point which needs to be explained to your audience as well. That it is not that the public has anger against army, because army is our protective, the institution who protects my country. But yes, public do have sentiments against some decisions taken by some of the very senior army officials, and which has been named by Imran Khan publicly as well. And I think there is no harm in talking about the decisions of some of the personnel. It is not about the institution. It is not about public and army. It is about a disagreement or unsatisfaction from the public about some decisions by the very senior military officials. And I think there is an accountability system within the army ranks as well, and they will bring him to the justice if it is required. But rest assured that Pakistan's borders, Pakistan's internal situation is intact, secure, and there is no kind of, there are some news of civil war or anything. No, there is no such thing like that. Sure. As far as situation is concerned, public of Pakistan, they understand that there is a limit they can cross, and further that they need how to protect their country as well.
Sure, but the kind of scenes that we have seen in the last 36 hours or so, in the last 72 hours, hasn't really inspired confidence among many. And G. Parthasarthi, Hamid Khan says that there's no need to worry, everything is under control, and anyone outside of Pakistan should definitely not worry. But do you concur with that? Because many would be concerned at the prospect of a meltdown in a nuclear-armed state.
Very frankly, I have lived in Pakistan for 5.5 years. So I've lived through a coup when General Musharraf took over. I've lived under military rule of General Zia. So look, one has a lot of friends in Pakistan, and one wishes the people well. And on that, I agree with whatever the person said earlier. But I think he's being a bit over-enthusiastic. Let us not forget the army chief has a special grudge against Imran Khan, who deliberately came close to ruining his career. And he is the army chief. So to pretend that the army is always hunky-dory with the democracy, the answer is no. No country has had as frequent coups as Pakistan. by the military. And the fact of the matter is that on all policies, especially on relations with India and other countries, the army has a very decisive say. So for our guest from Pakistan to pretend everything is hunky-dory, we all love each other, forget it. This is a country which has gone through a series of military coups. It can go through it again because Imran Khan, yes, now enjoys public sort of backing. There's no doubt about that. And it remains to be seen how the army is going to handle it because they are the ultimate guys. And as I told you, the army army chief Asim Munir got the boot from Imran Khan and then made his way back in his career. So there are lots of complications, and this will continue. The last time the Supreme Court said something, it was defied because the Chief Justice is known to be a supporter of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. So that is it, which is Imran's party. And the other thing which Pakistanis have told me is that yeah, the Chief Justice has ambitions to become the president.
It's all political agenda. It's all personal ambitions that could be driving these kind of decisions that we are seeing. But that definitely, does give the PTI an upper hand if elections are held anytime soon, or at least that's what the PTI believes. They believe that this is exactly the kind of sympathy wave that they wanted to ride on, Hamid Khan.
Yes, of course, there is no doubt that PTI is enjoying the popularity there. Imran Khan is the most popular leader at the moment. And on the other hand, I mean, I would like to say to, a gentleman who was, explaining the situation of coup in Pakistan, I think we need to understand that how much resentment in the public that they have overthrown all the coups within 7 to 8 years because the public does not accept, army rule for a longer time as well. Otherwise, we have examples across the world where army rule lasted for decades. I mean, that is another way of thinking.
But Hamid Khan, can you deny that it is the army in Pakistan that calls the shots, be it overtly or covertly, but the final word is always with the army? Yes, there is a civilian government. Yes, there is democracy in that country. But it's an open secret of the kind of strings the army pulls.
Let me tell you one thing. I do agree that army influence or intervention within the civil government is always happening in Pakistan. But on the other hand, I mean, there is so much, I should say, favor or agreement within the public as well that they should be army's role as a safety valve against the corruption of the politicians does not mind. It is been accepted because there are so many other reasons, and when we have come across that, army has done so much positive always for Pakistan's sovereignty, and we have seen that. So it is not, as a political analyst, I absolutely disagree any involvement of army within the running of a democratic government. I agree with you. But on the other hand, where countries such as Pakistan, where democracy is not that strong, so if it gets support from the army within their own constitutional right, there is nothing wrong with it. Let me tell you one more thing, that in coming days, we have seen the army has openly become apolitical. They're not involving in any political activities. They are trying to keep them away from the political activities. Yes, at the moment, the situation is that the current Shehbaz Sharif government is very unpopular. They are afraid to go to the public for the elections. That is the main reason. The current government have lost a lot of political capital within the public. So that's the reason they don't want to go for the election, while Imran Khan is emphasizing on elections as soon as possible because he believes his ousted last year was unfair to him. He was performing well, and he has proven it to the country, to the public, that he will be the better choice. So, I mean, that is the main conflict between the government and the current opposition, Imran Khan. So I think the army's role is getting apolitical every day, and which is a good news for Pakistan. And yes, whenever there is a big change in the country goes through the tough time and crisis, which we have seen. There is no doubt about it. What you are saying is happening in last 48 hours. I agree with you, but it doesn't mean that we can say that there is a civil war or anything. That is my main disagreement to you.
Sure.
Things are under control.
So, G. Parthasarthi, elections are just around the corner. They have been delayed in the past. The country doesn't even have enough money, from what we learn, to conduct general elections. We've seen the kind of tales that have come to the fore of the common man suffering. Inflation is at an all-time high. And the kind of protest, the vandalism of public property that we are seeing, the overuse of the army now in things, in situations that were totally unavoidable, that is only going to push the country into further instability, both on the political front as far as the economic one.
Well, let me say this, that the economy is in a terrible shape. They are not having the resources to get building materials and medicines. Their foreign exchange reserves have fallen so badly. And the fact of the matter is that they have displeased the US, and they cannot move ahead without the IMF assistance. And the IMF assistance they've been holding back. So there are serious financial problems. I have too many friends in Pakistan, and I can feel only sorry for the people of Pakistan. But if they have an army, which is normally the people rule the army. In Pakistan, the army rule the people. That's the reality. Every democratic government has to look out as to what the army will do next. And I can only say, after all, Bangladesh was together with Pakistan. The Bangladesh army does not act like that, nor in Sri Lanka. They respect democracy. But they are saddled with an army which does not. And you've been saddled with political leaders who've been all too free to yield to the military. And, Imran Khan, when he tried to get too independent, the army arranged for him to lose his majority in parliament. Pakistan's parliamentarians were turned around by General Bajwa to turn against Imran Khan. So, I think my friend has well intention, but you have to live in a real world. Nobody wishes Pakistan bad. Nobody wants to see Pakistani people suffering out of this toll and competition for power in Pakistan.
Yes.
But the reality is, you pick yourself an army. My American friend told me, in most countries, the people have an army. In Pakistan, the army has the people. That is the reality of life in Pakistan. I wish them well. I hope they can get over it. But it's going to be tough going. And as for the Chief Justice, I'd like to say that the last time he said something, he was overruled by Parliament. So let's not rush into conclusions of just how powerful he is. Pakistan is going through difficult times, and you will have to forge the unity amongst your people. And how General Asim Munir, who's the present army chief, responds to moves to get Imran Khan put on the saddle again. If he wins in an election, that's fine. But that's questionable.
Yeah. Yeah, what happens next for Imran Khan? What happens next for the country? It's all under cloud at the moment. Imran Khan is in the Supreme Court even as we speak. Several questions have been raised over the NAB's behavior and the way in which he was arrested and all that has transpired in the last 3 days. We'll keep a track of that here on CNN News 18, but I'd like to thank you both gentlemen for joining us here on this broadcast with your perspective. Slipping into a quick break, back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
ਤੱਥ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਤੱਥ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਾਲੇ ਨਸ਼ਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੇ, ਪਰ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਤੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਚੇਚੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਡੰਗਾਈ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂਚ ਕਰਕੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਸਾਜ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਨੰਗੀ ਕਰੋ.
Like Aam Aadmi Party, Bhagwant Mann should spend more time on focusing on the law and order situation of the state rather than arresting journalists who show the truth of the mirror of truth to the entire Kejriwal and Bhagwant Mann establishment.
सर कैसे ऐसा हुआ जहां पर एक्सप्लोजन हुआ है जो अमृतसर साहिब के
Okay, we're now moving to more details in this same case. This is a CNN News 18 exclusive on the Amritsar blast probe. Remember, we told you that 5 people had been arrested already in relation to the explosion that took place this morning in particular. Now, top intelligence sources are telling us that the blasts were done by 2 individuals, possibly to give a message against the atrocities that have been taking place against Sikhs. We're learning that one of those 2 was a former government employee. Now, we do have more details about the person. We are learning that he was upset, as we just told you, due to what he perceived were anti-Sikh activities taking place across the state. My colleague Anshul is with us to bring us more details. Anshul, some media outlets are also saying that the suspect distributed pamphlets at the site when the explosion took place, and those pamphlets also contained some information. Bring us some context, please, as to what took place early this morning and as to what police are finding now in their probe.
So yes, the police is carrying out a detailed investigation in this entire matter. If you see, initially the kind of reports that we picked up from Amritsar, the DGP himself and the other police sources on the ground said that this does not seem like a terror attack and this seems like a case of property dispute. But now, since the person has been taken into custody, it has now very clearly been revealed about the nitty-gritties of this entire operation that was carried out by these 2 individuals. Basically, they wanted to give a message of atrocities against Sikhs, and hence these low-intensity blasts were carried out. Now, these bombs that were used, these were crude bombs, and these were not ID or any other sort of sophisticated bombs, but these were crude bombs that were used, and hence it was of very, very low intensity. Now, remember the blast that happened on Saturday, at least 6 people got injured, whereas the blast that happened on Monday, another person got injured. He had a few splinters on his legs. Now, this entire investigation is now being carried out.
A development coming out of Amritsar, where early this morning the area around the Golden Temple saw the 3rd blast it's seen since just Saturday. Now, in the blast that took place this morning, 5 people have already been arrested. Now, the blast itself took place in the early hours of the morning. And as we just told you, this is the 3rd blast the area has seen in just the last 7 days. Now, according to central agency sources, a kind of potassium chlorate was actually possibly used in the making of the explosion itself. Sources have further said that the blast seems to be more to provoke than to harm, with the timing of the last 2 blasts coinciding with the fact that there were lesser people in the area because it took place early in the morning. Now, the Punjab Police DGP is expected to brief the media over all of these attacks. Let's take a look. This is a walkthrough, a ground report that my colleague Rajiv Sharma brought us from the ground. Take a look.
मंदिर साहिब के बिल्कुल पास श्री गुरु रामदास सराय में एक धमाका होता है। 12:10 पर इसकी सूचना पुलिस को मिलती है और पुलिस कमिश्नर खुद मौके पर पहुंचते हैं। तो इस समय हम उसी जगह पर मौजूद हैं। आप देख सकते हैं कि श्री गुरु रामदास जो सराय है उसका बिल्कुल ये पिछला हिस्सा है और आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पर गलियारा जो बना हुआ है जहाँ पर जो लोग हैं वो सैर करते हैं। तो इसी इलाके में कहा जा रहा है कि रात को 3रा जो ब्लास्ट है वो हुआ था। जैसे पुलिस को जानकारी मिली तो पुलिस कमिश्नर नौनिहाल सिंह खुद यहाँ पर पहुंचे। उसके बाद जांच जो है वो शुरू की गई।
हमारे को रात को 12 बजे के आसपास, 12:15 के आसपास यहाँ पे इंटीमेशन आई थी कि यहाँ पे एक लाउड साउंड हैज बीन हर्ड। इट इज सस्पेक्टेड दैट देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी कि एक एक्सप्लोजन और हुआ है, बट बिकॉज अभी अंधेरा है और ये इस बिल्डिंग के पीछे हुआ है, वहाँ पे अभी तक एक कंफर्म नहीं हो पाया है कि वेदर इट इज अ ब्लास्ट और कोई और इंसिडेंट है।
पर स्पेकुलेशन करते हुए हमारी सरकार जाएगी ऐसा कहते थे, आज उनको उसका जवाब मिल गया है।
अगर उद्धव जी ने नैतिकता के आधार पर रिजाइन किया है इस्तीफा नहीं देते तो आज हम उस स्थिति में होते कि उद्धव ठाकरे जी को मुख्यमंत्री के तौर पर फिर एक बार स्थापित करते।
The Supreme Court pronounced its verdict on a batch of cross petitions filed by Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde and the Uddhav Thackeray factions in Maharashtra. The debate has been settled for now as far as the government in Maharashtra is concerned. The 5-judge Constitution bench headed by Chief Justice of India DY Chandrachud pronounced that it cannot order the restoration of Uddhav Thackeray government as he resigned without facing a floor test. The Supreme Court did though come heavily down on the governor and the speaker for the decisions that they took. They all erred in judgment, is what the Supreme Court observed. The bench added that the speaker was wrong in appointing Shinde faction's leader as the chief whip. The court further said that the exercise of discretion by the governor was not in accordance with the constitution. The court has now ordered that the speaker will decide on the disqualification of these MLAs, which means there was no decision taken today, which is why Shinde Fadnavis government will live to see another day.
दिनों से हमारी लड़ाई चल रही थी सर्वोच्च न्यायालय में, आज आप भी आ गए और वो निर्णय भी आ गया। इस देश में अब प्रजातंत्र उसकी रक्षा करना हमारा काम है। जैसे सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने कहा कि अगर मैं रिजाइन नहीं करता, मैं इस्तीफा नहीं देता तो शायद मैं वापस मुख्यमंत्री बन जाता। मैं मेरे लिए नहीं लड़ रहा हूँ, मेरी लड़ाई जनता के लिए है, मेरे देश के लिए, मेरे राज्य के लिए है। और भले हम इसके पहले राजनीति में विवाद तो होते रहते हैं, लेकिन एक मत तो हमारा हो गया है कि इस देश को हमें बचाना है, संविधान को बचाया है। हम सब मिलकर ये जो अपने देश को फिर से एक बार गुलाम बनाना चाहते हैं, उनको घर भेजेंगे और मुझे पक्का भरोसा है पूरी जनता हमारा इंतजार कर रही है।
सुप्रीम कोर्ट बहुत स्पष्टता से कहता है कि गवर्नर साहब ने शिंदे जी को मुख्यमंत्री पद की शपथ लेने का जो न्योता दिया वो सही है। इसका ही मतलब ये होता है कि शिंदे जी के नेतृत्व में जो सरकार तैयार हुई है वो लेजिटिमेट है, वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल है। और इसलिए हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट का आभार व्यक्त करते हैं। जो लोग ये कहते थे कि ये सरकार संवैधानिक नहीं है, उनको इसका जवाब मिल गया होगा, बशर्ते वो अगर सुप्रीम कोर्ट को मानते हो तो। क्योंकि कई बार सुप्रीम कोर्ट पर भी वो प्रश्न चिन्ह लगाते हैं। तो अगर देश के संविधान को और सुप्रीम कोर्ट को अगर वो मानते होंगे तो आज उनको इस बात का जवाब पूर्ण तरीके से मिल गया कि श्री एकनाथ शिंदे जी के नेतृत्व की सरकार ही संवैधानिक है, पूरे तरीके से लेजिटिमेट और लीगल सरकार ये है।
हम लोगों ने जो सरकार स्थापित किया है वो पूरी तरह से कानून और घटना इसका आदर करते हुए हम लोगों ने किया है। और जो जिनके पास बहुमत नहीं था उन्होंने रिजाइन किया है। और नैतिकता की बात अब करने से पहले अगर करते, जब चुनाव हुआ था, जब शिवसेना भाजपा की सरकार का जब गठित होने मतलब जो सार्वत्रिक चुनाव हुआ, तब लोगों का मैंडेट ध्यान में रखते हुए अगर नैतिकता की बात करते तो शिवसेना बीजेपी का सरकार स्थापित हो जाता था। लेकिन सिर्फ और सिर्फ सत्ता पाने के लिए, कुर्सी पाने के लिए जब निर्णय लिया, ये जनता ने देखा है, महाराष्ट्र ने देखा है, और उसी को सुधारने का काम हम लोगों ने किया है।
मैं राजनीतिक मसलों से अपने को बहुत दूर रखता हूं, और जो मसला सुप्रीम कोर्ट में था उस मसले पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपना निर्णय दे दिया है। उस निर्णय पर जो कानूनविद हैं वही अपनी राय व्यक्त करेंगे। मुझे नहीं लगता कि मैं, चूँकि कानून का विद्यार्थी हूँ नहीं, मैं केवल संसदीय परंपराएं जानता हूँ और विधायी परंपराएं जानता हूँ। उस हिसाब से मैंने जिस समय जो भी कदम लिए सोच समझ के लिए, और जब किसी का इस्तीफा मेरे पास आ गया तो मैं क्या कहता, तुम मत दो इस्तीफा।
संविधानातील 10th शेड्यूल मध्ये काही गोष्टींचं स्पष्टीकरण होणं आवश्यक होतं। त्यातलं एक बाब म्हणजे नेमकी पॉलिटिकल पार्टीचं व्हिप ऍप्लिकेबल होतं की लेजिस्लेचर पार्टीचं व्हिप ऍप्लिकेबल होतं. तर यात त्यांनी स्पष्टपणे इंटरप्रिटेशन दिलंय शेड्यूल 10चं आणि असं म्हटलंय की पॉलिटिकल पार्टीचं व्हिप ऍप्लिकेबल व्हायला पाहिजे. असं झाल्यानंतर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी नेमकी त्या क्षणी कोणत्या गट म्हणजे ती पॉलिटिकल पार्टी याला रेकग्नाइज करायला पाहिजे या संदर्भातला पण निर्णय विधानसभा अध्यक्षांनी घ्यावा असं या जजमेंटमध्ये नमूद केलं गेलं आहे.
Number one, the whip by the so-called Shinde faction was held to be illegal. Number two, the recognition of that illegal whip by the speaker was itself illegal. Thirdly, the speaker's recognition of the entire Shinde faction was held to be illegal. Further, it is held that whips have to be that which is by a political party, not by a group of legislators, the so-called legislative wing. And finally, friends, the entire governor's decision has been declared illegal on the ground that it lacks relevant objective material.
So the Supreme Court has given its judgment on the entire fiasco that happened in Maharashtra. What impact will it have on the current government now?
The government is completely safe. There's no problem about the government now. The government will last its full tenure because the Supreme Court has clearly held in the end that whatever else they may have said before, the fact of the matter is that Uddhav Thackeray ji did not face the floor test. And not having faced the floor test, there was a vacuum in the government. On that, I have to say I respectfully disagree. I thought there was enough evidence for him to call a floor test. After all, people were being threatened with violence by the state government. All these MLAs, they were not being given a chance to have their say. The situation had got out of hand at that time. People's homes were burnt. Let us cross each bridge as we come to it. The first bridge is the bridge of disqualifications. Supreme Court said it has to be decided in reasonable time. The issue of disqualification, now it's up to the Speaker. He will hear all the parties. He will allow them to file their pleadings and hear it.
Yasha and Ananya, my colleagues, joining us for more on this. And I'd like to get in Ananya first. He was tracking all the developments that took place in the Supreme Court as the hearing happened today. Now, Ananya, many political analysts would say that this was a mixed bag sort of an order. While questions were raised on the Speaker's decisions, especially the one of changing the chief whip, the CJI said that was completely illegal, but the decision on disqualification still lies with the Speaker. The same goes for the Governor as well. Questions were raised about how he decided to not even call for a floor test without there being in writing of any of these MLAs wanting to withdraw support. Yet the CJI said that we cannot really reinstate the previous government because Uddhav Thackeray voluntarily resigned.
Well, definitely, Poonam, this judgment can be a good academia on how in the future these kind of intra-party disputes can be, settled on with, or how they have to be dealt with by the law. But at the same point of time, or if we see at the political level, if we see at the current level, there is no kind of a relief that is going to be given to Uddhav Thackeray, because the whole and soul part and parcel, and it has been categorically stated to them in the hearing as well that you are a CM that has resigned yourself. You have categorically taken a decision. You had not faced the floor test, and that's the reason why, in fact, the Supreme Court today refused to grant any kind of a relief to Uddhav Thackeray. But at the same point of time, this judgment in the future course of action would lie a very important law, because it has said that the floor test cannot be used to as a weapon for solving intra-party disputes. If you have intra-party disputes, if you have factions divided in your own party, then the party constitution is something that you should go by with, and a floor test is no resolution for that. The questions were raised on the governor. Questions were raised on the actions of the Speaker. In fact, the decision of Speaker of selection of the whip has been categorically said to be illegal. In fact, with the governor, it has been said that though his decision to call a floor test was without objective material, but then his decision to call upon Mr. Eknath Shinde along with Devendra Fadnavis to actually form a government in Maharashtra was nothing more than the last option, because Uddhav Thackeray had already resigned, and it has been very, very categorically stated the decision to call upon Eknath Shinde to form a government was correctly right. But then this judgment in the future course of action would define how the anti-defection law would operate, and in fact it has also been stated a very, very key point that will be a landmark for future course of action is that people who defect from a particular political party or split into two factions cannot use the anti-defection law or to go away from the disqualification proceeding. So it will set the tone straight for future elections. But at this point of time, the Maharashtra government is all the way safe. The Eknath Shinde government will continue, but the disqualification of these MLAs would be decided by the speaker, who is Rahul Narvekar at this point of time. Poonam.
Yes, and Yasha, where does that leave the Uddhav Thackeray camp? This was perhaps their last hope from the Supreme Court as far as the disqualification goes, because that also would mean that the legacy of Bala Saheb Thackeray, the legacy of Shiv Sena as a party, is something that Uddhav Thackeray was hoping would eventually come back to him.
Very well, Poonam. In fact, that is what we've seen was in fact also mentioned by Chief Minister Eknath Shinde when he addressed the media today. In fact, what was clearly mentioned was that he questioned Uddhav Thackeray. Uddhav Thackeray, who was in fact hoping that Supreme Court would give a decision in their favor, because we'd seen that the Election Commission as well had given the party symbol and party name to Eknath Shinde. However, even today, while it was clearly mentioned that the moral grounds are with Uddhav Thackeray, the fact that he resigned from his position went actually against him. But now, when we see that the fact that the 16 MLAs were something that was being challenged, however, even before the verdict, it was very much clear that even if the 16 MLAs are disqualified, the number game was still with Eknath Shinde and Devendra Fadnavis faction. So it wasn't going to be a relief for Uddhav Thackeray either ways. However, when you speak of the Maharashtra politics as a whole, when we see that the decision has now been given to Rahul Narvekar, he would further go ahead and understand that political party stance. We've in fact seen that Supreme Court had clearly mentioned about the political party being different from a legislative party. Now it will be Rahul Narvekar who decide as to what constitutes this particular political party. It will take a while for them to take this decision about what will constitute this political party, because a stark difference will have to be made when it comes to political and legislative party.
Yes.
In fact, what was also mentioned when we see the question of chief whip, it was only anyways mentioned that was Sunil Prabhu was a chief whip. Now here, the stands that there was a meeting which was held before this defection that took place. The fact that chief whip is was still considered to be Sunil Prabhu by the Supreme Court is something that will also be further gone ahead and decided by Rahul Narvekar. So currently, while it's a relief to Shinde and Fadnavis faction, what needs to be seen is that Uddhav Thackeray, how will he chart his course of action when it comes to next political elections? Clearly, when it was Sharad Pawar, who is a part of MVA, it was mentioned by him that it will be now Congress, Uddhav Thackeray as well as him, who would work harder.
Yes.
They would actually want bygones to be
BMC
bygones and
elections,
start
the
afresh
civic body elections in
ensure that
Mumbai are the first test for this particular faction of Uddhav Thackeray and the Mahavikas Aghadi alliance. For the moment, Yasha and Ananya, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that. Now, that was not the only landmark judgment that came to the fore from the Supreme Court today. The other fate, the other state's fate that was sealed by the top court was that of Delhi. And in a victory for the Aam Aadmi Party-led Delhi government, the Supreme Court, in a unanimous verdict, said that the elected government shall have control of officers in the national capital. The CJI-led bench stated that they could not agree with Justice Bhushan's 2019 judgment, further adding that they could not agree that the Delhi government has no power at all. Another observation of the apex court was that the Delhi Assembly was given powers to legislate to represent the people's will. It made very, very clear that barring law, barring the police, all other powers for the governance of Delhi would lie with the Delhi government.
बहुत ही ऐतिहासिक ऑर्डर है, दिल्ली के लोगों की बहुत बड़ी जीत है। दिल्ली के लोगों के साथ जो अभी तक अन्याय होता आया, उनके साथ माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने न्याय किया है। इस दौरान इस आदेश को इस्तेमाल करके दिल्ली के कामों को जानबूझ के रोका गया। हम दिल्ली में स्कूल अच्छे करना चाहते थे, तो वो जानबूझ के ऐसा एजुकेशन सेक्रेटरी बिठाएंगे जो कि काम ना करे। एक तरह से मेरे दोनों हाथ बांध दिए गए पीछे और मुझे नदी में फेंक दिया गया कि अब तैरो।
what exactly it means for the people of Delhi when it comes to administration and work that is being done here.
See, basically what it means is that it is the elected government that will now have power over the officers. So for the last 8 years, with the unconstitutional orders that were passed by the MHA, the officers become accountable to the elected government and their nominee, the Lieutenant Governor. This basically disempowers democracy because people have chosen one political party and one chief minister. Now, Arvind Kejriwal does not have to fight for every small thing, for getting every small decision implemented. Now, the Delhi government will function like a true democracy should.
What we can narrate the statement of the Supreme Court today?
See, the Supreme Court was very clear. It gave an unambiguous, clear decision today that the power to basically control all those who are serving in the Delhi government lies with the elected government of Delhi, number one. Number two, that the power with the Delhi Assembly is to have, fresh services under Entry 41. They can have, they can make fresh services. They can have a state service commission just like any other state. So, and they can control it fully. Number three, LG has no power in respect of services or any other matter except police, public order and land, which is already excluded, which was also our position. That's written clearly in the constitution. So there's nothing new on that. So it reiterated the position that in a democratic setup, and it has described Delhi as a federated entity. So therefore, it has equated in at least large number of respects today Delhi to a full-fledged state, although of course Delhi is not a full-fledged state, but effective control on all aspects stays with the Delhi government and the Delhi legislature.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक बड़ी जीत का तोहफा दिया है। ये जीत दिल्ली के लोगों की तो जीत है ही, साथ ही साथ जिस तरह से भारतीय जनता पार्टी की केंद्र सरकार और देश के प्रधानमंत्री माननीय नरेंद्र मोदी देश भर में चुनी हुई सरकारों को जिस तरह से असंवैधानिक तरीके से हड़पने का जो मुहिम उन्होंने चला रखी थी, उस मुहिम पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट का एक बहुत बड़ा तमाचा है।
We're shifting focus now to news coming in from Pakistan, and more Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf leaders are now being put behind bars. The latest one is Senator Ejaz Chaudhry, who's now been arrested as well. This is all in the aftermath of Imran Khan's arrest and the violence that ensued. Siddhant, my colleague, joining us for more details. Now, Siddhant, this crackdown on PTI and Imran Khan's party is only intensifying even as Imran Khan himself is in the Supreme Court.
Well, that's right, Poonam, and there's a reason to it because now the hopes have increased, and the cadre has a belief that Imran Khan will get some sort of a relief from Supreme Court, and this is perhaps the reason that, in fact, I was following some of the trends coming from Pakistan. That there, the PTI cadre is planning protests in Lahore, in Islamabad, and various other places, and these decisions are being taken by the 7-member core committee which was formed by Imran Khan before his arrest. And this particular leader who has been arrested, he's a senator, his name is Ejaz Chaudhry, and he happens to be a close aide of Imran Khan and has been fueling the ongoing protests, the ongoing campaign to free Imran Khan. He has been supporting and has been actively participating, and this is perhaps the reason that during a roundup, and in fact during these protests, he has been arrested, and we have been told that series of arrests have been made, and in fact the senior PTI cadre have been put behind the bars. And this is all being done to break the bone or to break the backbone of the protest.
Yes.
Because that is also very important, because there is no U-turn for Shehbaz Sharif government anymore. They are cornering Imran Khan at a legal level. That they are also cornering Imran Khan on a political level.
Yes, but the NAB is facing questions from the Supreme Court. A deadline was also set for them. The manner in which Imran Khan was arrested is also something that eyebrows were raised upon. Whether there is relief that comes to the fore from the Supreme Court, we'll have to wait and watch out for. But for the moment, Siddhant, thank you so much. It's time for another quick break here on this edition, but lots lined up for you on CNN News 18. Do stay tuned.
I am Rashid Kirbari. Catch me on CNN News 18 as I join the channel's non-stop coverage on Karnataka elections on the 13th of May.
मंदिर साहिब के बिल्कुल पास श्री गुरु रामदास सराय में एक धमाका होता है। 12:10 पर इसकी सूचना पुलिस को मिलती है और पुलिस कमिश्नर खुद मौके पर पहुंचते। तो इस समय हम उसी जगह पर मौजूद हैं। आप देख सकते हैं कि श्री गुरु रामदास जो सराय है उसका बिल्कुल ये पिछला हिस्सा है और आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पर गलियारा जो बना हुआ है जहाँ पर जो लोग हैं वो सैर करते। तो इसी इलाके में कहा जा रहा है कि रात को तीसरा जो ब्लास्ट है वो हुआ था। जैसे पुलिस को जानकारी मिली तो पुलिस कमिश्नर नौनिहाल सिंह खुद यहाँ पर पहुंचे। उसके बाद जांच जो है वो शुरू की गई।
हमारे को रात को 12 बजे के आसपास, 12:15 के आसपास यहाँ पे इंटीमेशन आई थी कि यहाँ पे एक लाउड साउंड हैज़ बीन हर्ड. इट इज़ सस्पेक्टेड दैट देयर इज़ अ पॉसिबिलिटी कि एक एक्सप्लोजन और हुआ है, बट बिकॉज अभी अंधेरा है और ये इस बिल्डिंग के पीछे हुआ है, वहाँ पे अभी तक एक कंफर्म नहीं हो पाया है कि वेदर इट इज़ अ ब्लास्ट और कोई और इंसिडेंट है. आर FSL टीम इज़ ऑन द स्पॉट, ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ वेरीफाई कर रहे हैं. एंड एज अ पार्ट ऑफ द प्रिकॉशनरी मेजर्स, एज पार्ट जो हमारी इन्वेस्टिगेशन है, हम सस्पेक्ट्स को राउंड अप कर रहे हैं, लोगों को वेरीफाई कर रहे हैं, पूछताछ कर रहे हैं.
बड़े लंबे समय तो मैं देख ਰਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਸੀਰੀਅਸਲੀ ਘਟਨਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਉਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਧਾਰਮਿਕ ਫਿਰਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ. ਇਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ 2-4 ਦਿਨ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ 2 ਘਟਨਾਵਾਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬਲਾਸਟ ਹੋਏ, ਪਰ ਉਹ ਬਲਾਸਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਕੋਈ ਦਿਲਚਸਪੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿਖਾਈ. ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਹਿਰਦੇ ਵੱਜ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸੁਚੇਤ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੀ, ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁਚੇਤ ਹੈਗੇ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ ਵੀ. ਹੋਰ ਕੁਝ ਤੱਥ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਵੀ, ਉਹ ਤੱਥ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਾਲੇ ਨਸ਼ਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੇ, ਪਰ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਤੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਚੇਚੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਡੰਗਾਈ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂਚ ਕਰਕੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਸਾਜ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਨੰਗੀ ਕਰੋ.
Like Aam Aadmi Party, Bhagwant Mann should spend more time on focusing on the law and order situation of the state rather than arresting journalists who show the truth of the mirror of truth to the entire Kejriwal and Bhagwant Mann establishment.
सर कैसे ऐसा हुआ जहां पर एक्सप्लोजन हुआ है जो अमृतसर साहिब के.
Okay, we're now moving to more details in this same case. This is a CNN News 18 exclusive on the Amritsar blast probe. Remember, we told you that 5 people had been arrested already in relation to the explosion that took place this morning in particular. Now, top intelligence sources are telling us that the blasts were done by 2 individuals, possibly to give a message against the atrocities that have been taking place against Sikhs. We're learning that one of those 2 was a former government employee. Now, we do have more details about the person. We are learning that he was upset, as we just told you, due to what he perceived were anti-Sikh activities taking place across the state. My colleague Anshul is with us to bring us more details. Anshul, some media outlets are also saying that the suspect distributed pamphlets at the site when the explosion took place, and those pamphlets also contained some information. Bring us some context, please, as to what took place early this morning and as to what police are finding now in their probe.
So yes, the police is carrying out a detailed investigation in this entire matter. If you see, initially the kind of reports that we picked up from Amritsar, the DGP himself and the other police sources on the ground said that this does not seem like a terror attack and this seems like a case of property dispute. But now, since the person has been taken into custody, it has now very clearly been revealed about the nitty-gritties of this entire operation that was carried out by these 2 individuals. Basically, they wanted to give a message of atrocities against Sikhs, and hence these low-intensity blasts were carried out. Now, these bombs that were used, these were crude bombs, and these were not ID or any other sort of sophisticated bombs, but these were crude bombs that were used, and hence it was of very, very low intensity. Now, remember the blast that happened on Saturday, at least 6 people got injured, whereas the blast that happened on Monday, another person got injured. He had a few splinters on his legs. Now, this entire investigation is now being carried out.
A development coming out of Amritsar, where early this morning the area around the Golden Temple saw the third blast it's seen since just Saturday. Now, in the blast that took place this morning, 5 people have already been arrested. Now, the blast itself took place in the early hours of the morning. And as we just told you, this is the third blast the area has seen in just the last 7 days. Now, according to central agency sources, a kind of
Welcome back. Former United States President Donald Trump spoke at CNN's town hall on several issues, ranging from the January 6th riots to the recent accusations of sexual abuse that he has been charged with. Listen in to what he had to say.
Former president and current GOP frontrunner Donald Trump answering questions directly from New Hampshire Republicans and uncommitted voters.
Will you suspend polarizing talk of election fraud during your run for president?
I hope we're going to have very honest elections. We should have voter ID. We should have one-day elections. We should have paper ballots instead of these mail-in votes.
The former president still refusing to acknowledge his loss in the 2020 election.
Will you pardon the January 6 rioters who were convicted of federal offenses?
I am inclined to pardon many of them.
The CNN-hosted town hall comes one day after a Manhattan federal jury found Trump liable for sexually abusing and defaming former advice columnist E. Jean Carroll.
I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This is a fake story, made-up story.
It's one in a long list of legal battles he's currently fighting. Trump pleaded not guilty last month to 34 felony criminal charges of falsifying business records in Manhattan. He could also face additional charges in Washington and Georgia in separate cases.
In Washington, D.C., you cannot get a fair trial. You cannot. Just like in New York City, you can't get a fair trial.
Sources inside the former president's campaign hopes the town hall provided Trump a chance to appeal to voters beyond his intensively devoted base.
If elected president again, what is the first thing you would do to help bring down the cost to make things more affordable?
Drill, baby, drill. You know about that. We have to save this country. Our country is dying. Our country is being destroyed by stupid people.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. In a mega Shiv Sena war, there's something for both sides in the verdict given today by the Supreme Court. In a big relief for Shinde government, the Supreme Court declared that status quo ante cannot be restored anymore, as Uddhav Thackeray resigned voluntarily and therefore his government can't be brought back. But the court recognized that both the then Maharashtra governor and speaker did not act in the correct manner. In an indictment of the governor's actions, the court said he had no objective material to doubt confidence, to have any doubt